I will now open this meeting with a call to order, and I ask for the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance from Council Member Mr. Bill Mello. Please stand.
You need to pray for us. Dear Lord God, please be with us today as we tend to the City of Orange's business. Please watch over us and help us to do the things that are only in your will. These things I pray in your Holy Son's name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilman Mello. On to item 3, motion. Motion finding that the advance posting and notice requirements of Article 8.1200 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Orange, Texas have been met in relation to all minutes and pending ordinances and resolutions on this agenda, and that the reading of such items be confined to the captions as are agreed upon by the ordinances and resolutions. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Number 4, approval of minutes, April 17th, 2018. Special call joint meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission and the City Council. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Item 4B, April 24th, 2018, Orange Economic Development Corporation meeting. Do I have a motion and a second?
I'll make it.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
May 1st, 2018, joint meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission and the City Council. Do I have a motion?
Motion. Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Item 4D, May 15th, 2018, special call joint meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission and the City Council. Do I have a motion?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Item 4E, June 12th, 2018, regular City Council meeting. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, motion passes. Item 5, citizen comments. At this time, citizen comments will be taken from the audience on any subject matter, whether or not that item is on the agenda. All comments are limited to a maximum of 3 minutes for each speaker. Your comments are appreciated. As the Texas Open Meetings Act does not allow the council to respond to items not listed on the agenda, your comments will be duly noted by the council and forwarded to the appropriate department for prompt consideration. At this time, I have no one on the list, but is there anyone who would like to address the council? Okay. If there is no one, then I will close the citizen comments section and move to item 6, presentation. Presentation by Lance Penley, Senior Vice President, Employee Benefits with McGriff, Siebels, and Williams on the city's medical insurance program options and future strategies. Mr. Lance Penley.
I'd just like to
And Ms.
introduce
Zito.
him. Sorry, I'm going to squeeze in here. Mr. Penley is our insurance consultant. His firm helps us with the procurement of our insurance, our medical insurance policies, and our administration. They help us out all year long, and he's come today to just explain the city's position, where we are, and our future, what the future holds when we go out for bids or for our quotes for medical insurance.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cheryl. Members of the City Council, Lance Penley, McGriff, Siebels, and Williams. Pleasure to be here tonight. As Cheryl mentioned, this is a presentation that's really a state of the marketplace. We have a October 1st renewal, so it lines up with our fiscal year. We're currently with Blue Cross Blue Shield. Like I said, I'm going to give you some general market information as well as some specifics on the City of Orange's health plan and how we're running. We're also going to benchmark some peer cities, so we're going to look at some of the cities that you match up with here in the community, some national benchmarking data on other cities for McGriff and BB&T nationally. And then I'm just going to talk through some strategies that I think are pertinent for this upcoming renewal because we are expecting an increase. And then I want to open it up to you for questions. Excuse me. So just some general information. Medical inflation is running at about 6% annually. So The cost of something today is going to be about 6% more tomorrow or next year. And then on prescriptions, we're actually running between 12 and 15%. So prescriptions has really been a focus of my team locally and nationally. Prescription costs continue to rise while medical inflation remains stable. Employers in both the public sector and the private sector are looking for strategies to, contain the cost. We're looking at averages of 10 to 12% increases every year if our clients just stay status quo on plan designs and premiums and that sort of thing. So we're looking for strategies to offset that. One of the things that we do, and Cheryl mentioned that, and we've had a lot of success with the City of Orange, is we procure it. So we have been working with you for 7 years. When we do go out to RFP in the past, it's produced results. The problem with where we're at here in Texas is we really have 5 available markets. We're with Blue Cross right now, and I could say from experience the city and the employees have really enjoyed that relationship with Blue Cross. There's Aetna, United Healthcare, Cigna, and Humana are really the 5 options, and they can be competitive or not competitive depending on the year. Plan design changes is another way to offset cost. Obviously, if you increase premium, increase deductibles, out-of-pockets, co-pays, the insurance carrier is willing to lower their renewal rates. It's not ideal, but it's certainly a strategy. Another method is shifting premiums to the employees and the retirees. It's certainly, once again, it's not something that we want to do out of the gates, but I'm going to give you some information today that will show your peers and where they are with premiums versus where the City of Orange is. Something I've been talking to Cheryl and the team about are high deductible health plans. A lot of you, if you're in the private sector, you may have been introduced to high deductible health plans and HSAs. I think it's certainly something that we as the city need to continue to evaluate as an option. A lot of my city clients, I do work with 15 cities around the state. A lot of my city clients are starting to introduce a high deductible health plan as a plan option. Typically is the low plan or the base plan where the cheapest premiums are there. As I mentioned in my slide, the reason those are less expensive plans is it shifts first dollar cost over to the employee. A lot of you are used to paying a copay if you go to see a primary care physician, or if you go to an urgent care facility, or if you get a prescription drug. What the high deductible health plan does is it shifts first dollar cost at the negotiated discount rates from Blue Cross, but over to the employee. And what these plans were initiated to do were to drive consumerism on the employee's part. So help the employee make better choices when they're going to buy healthcare services. Self-insurance, y'all are at right around 200 employees. I'm going to show you some claims data here that says that self-insurance probably isn't a consideration for us in the immediate future, but I'm certainly would love to get the city on track to be able to consider self-insurance as an option in the future. Multiple plan designs, y'all have 3 plans right now. I really like where the plan options are. It's just a matter of, are we migrating employees? Are employees in the appropriate 3 plans based on their financial situation? And then wellness, we still want to continue to try to improve employees and spouses' health because ultimately that impacts our renewals. So just I'm going to give you a 2-page financial update. Right now, the city's on track to spend about $3.2 million on healthcare. That's divided up between the employees and the employer picking up 85% of the share. So you can see right here where through May 31st, and this is my reports of Blue Cross, 199 employees. There are several pre-65 retirees, I believe, on the plan as well. And then what I like to call belly buttons are additional spouses and children. We have another 272 spouses and children on the plan on top of employees and retirees. But the city is picking up a large portion of the cost. It's hard to see up on the board, but this is a year-over-year, what I call claims versus premiums analysis. And what it's going to show you over that 4-year period is we're not very profitable versus the insurance carriers. Currently, year-to-date, we're running 101% loss ratio, which means for every dollar that we've paid in to Blue Cross Blue Shield, they've actually paid $1.01 out. So they haven't made any money on us in the current year. In the prior year, we ran 116% loss ratio. So every dollar we paid them, they paid $1.16 out. 151% loss ratio in 2015-16. And then we did have a great year in 2014-15. As far as our claims experience is concerned, we ran a 90% loss ratio, which a little bit profitable for the insurance carrier, but still not within where they would consider, the profit margin that they would like. They would like to see our claims in the 80% range to be able to deliver us fair renewals that I'm able to negotiate. This is a great slide right here because it does say, and like I said, we've been working with the city for 7 years. We have been successful with RFPing or procuring your insurance on an annual basis. So if you see in the far left corner, you'll see the plan year back to 2011. We were with Aetna starting in 2011. McGriff started at 11.7% increase for 2012. We negotiated a 0% increase without doing an RFP. So claims were running well. We were able to negotiate on your behalf. Very excited. I think that was my first year that y'all had hired us. The second year, we had to move to Humana because we got a significant increase with Aetna, and they gave us a 1% renewal. We did have some hiccups with Humana. There were plan structure was a little different. Co-pays were paid different than network. So there is disruption to the employee population when we move. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. 14 and 15 with Blue Cross, once again, single digit increases. There were probably plan design changes to be able to get us under that 10% number. Probably for budget purposes, so we may have shifted around co-pays and deductibles, that sort of thing. Moved to United Healthcare in 2016 for 1 year at a 9% increase, and then we moved to Blue Cross this past year for a 16% increase. That wasn't 100% passed on to the city of Orange. We have shifted some minimal cost over to the employees over all these years, but marketing has produced results. I can tell you from working with the markets on a regular basis that every year we're getting less and less response to our RFPs because they're looking at our history and they're saying, well, we may keep them a year or two. We're not sure if this is profitable business for us. So I can tell you that, like Aetna, for example, I think they've declined 4 years in a row. So it's getting with the available markets and the amount that we RFP, that we send out for bids, we do expect no more than 2, maybe 3 bids this year. So I'm not going to go into all the details on the various cities that we looked at here locally, but you do have that for reference. We talked to the folks at City of Nederland, City of Vidor. You see your plan designs here on this first page. You have 3 plan designs. You have a $3,000 deductible plan, a $2,000 deductible plan, and a $1,000 deductible plan. And you have 68 of your 199 employees in that $3,000 deductible plan. You have 55 in the $2,000 deductible plan, and you have 75. So you have the largest portion of your employee base in the PPO 1000. One of the strategies that I'm going to discuss here in a minute is we would like employees, and I had that on my first bullet point with migration, we would like employees to look during open enrollment and consider the other plans based on premiums, because you may have a lot of low utilizing employees that are saying, yeah, the premiums just aren't that big of a differential between the second plan and or the middle plan and the buy-up plan. So I'm just going to go ahead and pay the difference of $120, and I'm going to buy up to the $1,000 deductible plan. So one of the strategies we wanted you to consider is a little bit more spread between the plans on the family side. The employees, I'm going to show you, are pretty much in line with your peers. So Nederland, Vidor, Port Neches, Beaumont, and Port Arthur are all cities that we looked at. Very much in line with what y'all are doing. Several of them do have a high deductible health plan option. Like I said on the first page, we do want to look at in the future. This is my national demographic or benchmarking information. We have over 100 cities, counties, school districts nationwide. And really what I wanted to highlight for you on this page is we're expecting in that bottom right corner of your client, we're expecting on the low end, we're expecting a 15% increase this year. I told the city manager that should be delivered to me in the next week or two from Blue Cross, and then that's when the negotiation process starts. So a 15% increase on $3.2 million in premium, we're looking at roughly $500,000. So just, once again, we are just coming to the city council to preview what we think is going to happen and work on strategy and bring back next steps in front of you. Just a little bit more data on our benchmarking. Once again, I really like the plan designs that we have in place here. I think we have the appropriate plan designs in place. At some point, if we want to turn that $3,000 PPO plan into an HSA, high deductible health plan, and make that kind of the low premium option, because you've got a lot of employees here at the city that probably just don't spend a lot on health care, and they want the cheapest premiums available to them. So that's just a consideration. Blue Cross won't allow us to do more than 3 plans. So, but I really do like the structure of your plan designs. Kind of the question is, do we have everybody in the appropriate plans? And then the premiums, once again, showing your premiums down here. I'm really focused on employee family, and I know that that's a very sensitive subject. I have a lot of municipal clients, as I mentioned, and the cities across the board, across my 15 clients, do subsidize family coverage. And it's a sensitive topic, but what I would tell you is the family coverage here at the city is very good, meaning on the premium side. We're charging $200 for premium for employee family for the $3,000 plan, $249 for the $2,000, and $390. So once again, just a consideration, we've got this 15% increase hanging out there, and it's like it's a balloon. We're going to have to figure out what to do with those costs when they come in. So my benefit benchmark study came back concluding that our deductibles are in line, our out-of-pocket maximums are in line, urgent care, ER, RX, all of those things are in line. On the premium side, your peers around are doing very similar to you. They're taking very good care of the employees. Most of your peers have a $0 plan or a very low-cost plan for their employees. But the one note I was going to make is we are a little bit more generous on our dependent tiers, spouse, child, and family. And then we don't have, as I mentioned, a high deductible health plan and health savings account. So most of your peers, if not all of them, had a high deductible health plan with a health savings account. So some of the strategies that I would like to deploy, and certainly I'm open to comments and questions, is we would like to negotiate with Blue Cross Blue Shield without an RFP. And I showed you, it's a difficult sell for me to the city council because I've showed you our past success, but I truly believe we're about leaving we're with what I think is the best vendor in Blue Cross Blue Shield. The employees really love them. The personnel department loves them. So what I would like to do is to try to negotiate with them without an RFP. Typically, I'm able to do that and say, hey, if this doesn't hit the streets this year, what are you willing to do for us? And we've had some success there, typically in the 5 to, I would say 5 to 8% range, roughly. And then the other considerations would be plan design changes. Like I said, I like where your plans are. I don't really know if we're going to be able to squeeze a lot out of premiums by doing that, but it certainly should be on the table. Premiums should always be on the table. We could consider a high deductible health plan this year, but this is a real low on the totem pole option for me. It really depends on what the renewal looks like, because it requires a lot of communication to the employees out front. This is a very different type of plan than a copay plan. But what I would like to present to you today is, we want to potentially put this on the table for fiscal year 2020, and start that communication campaign with HR. I'm not opposed to doing it for this year, but once again, I just, y'all pay me for my advice, and I would say it typically 6 months is a good strategy to do communication on the front end. And then migration takes care of itself a lot of times. If we shifted some premiums over on the family coverage at the renewal, we're going to have natural migration. We're going to have employees come to open enrollment. They're going to look at their plan designs. They're going to look at the premiums that they're paying, and you're going to have several families decide, you know what, the $1,000 plan doesn't make sense for us anymore because we don't utilize that much health care, and we want to pay the lower premium amounts. So I think that bullet point 3 and bullet point 5 are really one and the same. And then wellness programs. Blue Cross has a good wellness program. We've used it in the past. We could consider premium differentials in the future, which a lot of your peers are doing, where you've got to do X, Y, and Z, and if you complete those X, Y, and Z tasks, we're going to reduce your premiums by $50 a month. Or you come up the number 50 is a number that $600 a year is a number that moves a lot of people into working on those programs. So we certainly want to work with the city to incorporate some wellness strategies to get employees. Really, the wellness programs are to help an employee or a spouse really know their numbers. We want them to know if they have high blood pressure, if they have high cholesterol, if their BMI is too high. If they're a pre-diabetic, how can they help themselves fix those issues? Because ultimately, it results large claims, folks that are unhealthy. At the end of the day, it hits us in the renewal.
Does our current insurance require a health inspection each year, or is it not required?
No, sir, it does not. So, like I said, Blue Cross could help us deploy some strategies. We've had a lot of your peers that have developed these very complex, complicated wellness programs that employees don't understand, and then they just go, I'm not going to do that because it's too much. So we've actually seen a trend of some of our clients moving to make it easier for the employee to get the things done that they need to get done, and earn their incentive. And like I said, we can't sit with employees. It impacts other aspects of the city's business. Certainly when you've got people out driving around trucks and doing different things for the city, we want them to be healthy in that aspect as well. But what we want more than anything is we want them to understand, hey, am I healthy? Am I not healthy? Are there some things that I can do to improve my health? A lot of people just have barriers to access. I mean, 50% of people nationwide don't even have a primary care physician in this day and age.
Money's a good incentive because we get a discount if we do our wellness, and then there's a little exercise program if you do that, which isn't much of anything. but it reduces your costs.
Yes, sir. I think this is a trend that's happening out there. I think that, this is something that I think that we should consider in the future. Once again, on the wellness program side, we can start to deploy some strategy there, but we do have to give employees enough time to earn the incentive. So, we would have to work very quickly and very hard to deploy an incentive, a premium incentive strategy for 2019 or 2018-19 fiscal year. But certainly something that, and this is more of a long-term play. So this is not something that Blue Cross is going to immediately discount our renewal because we've implemented it. They want to see the results have to come in the form of the claims, and we haven't really showed them that yet.
One other thing is, whenever you said that, like, we spend a dollar and a penny for every dollar that we paid them.
Yes, sir.
Does that include the overhead, or is there?
Yeah, I mean,
overhead on top
that
of
is
So
that is
they're
pure
out of
claims. That's
Oh,
pure
man.
claims.
Yeah,
So
that's not good.
that's a great point you make. Overhead is probably another 10%.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're probably spending another $320,000 on having an account manager that answers to personnel, somebody that's paying claims, somebody that handles the online, the internet for somebody that makes adds a child or something like that. So we certainly, and I showed you enough data to say that we are not profitable for Blue Cross right now. We should expect an increase. I'm hoping, we've done some actuarial projections that say we think it's going to be in the 15% range. It could start even higher than that.
Mr. Penley,
Yes, sir.
is there any pitfall to negotiating without the RFP? I mean, are you going in blind and something could happen in reverse and backfire?
Yeah, I think it works both ways. Certainly, so we had success. If I go back, let me go back to we stayed with Blue Cross for 2 years in a row. I think it was 2014 and 15. And we had a ton of, I think that's the only year we did an RFP here at the City of Orange. And it ended up being successful because on two fronts, Blue Cross did negotiate with us. We ended up, I think, making plan designs to get down to that 9% that started out at 25. But I honestly believe, if memory serves me correctly, it was worth 8 to 10 points, which is on average kind of what we're getting in the marketplace on an apples to apples.
Year 14 and 15?
Yes, sir. So our first year with Blue Cross was in 14, and then what we did in leading up to that 2015 renewal is we made a call to them and we said, hey, we would like to keep this RFP off the streets this year. And we knew what we were dealing with. We've already been with Humana, we've already been with Aetna, United Healthcare and Cigna had been uncompetitive for several years. So we were under the impression that we were not going to get competitive bids from the marketplace or any bids at all. So we thought that was the right strategy, and it ended up working. Every other year we have marketed and we have had some success but had to move. So it meant human resources had to deploy resources. Employees did have disruption, whether it be provider disruption, maybe on a minimal basis, but drug switching from the formulary to the non-formulary, co-pays maybe increased, labs not paid for, just little things like that cause the employees a little bit of issue. But I am of the belief, and I've told Cheryl this, is I just don't think we're going to get a good reaction from the market this year. United Healthcare is not very happy with us. We stayed with them for 1 year and then left. They gave us a 28% increase, so it was deserving that we left.
Yeah.
But typically what happens if we RFP, I'll just take you through a day in my life. If we send this RFP, if this RFP goes out, my United Healthcare rep is going to make me schedule a call with him and, you know, other people on his team, you know, to determine if it's a viable fit for them or not, because they typically don't make money in a one-year scenario. So I hope I answered your question.
This is your gut instinct.
This is my gut
requesting
instinct.
that we go with this.
Yes, Councilman?
Well, it's one of those things, like I know the last few years we negotiated, we've tried to find the best option. We've offered the employees of the city 90-10 coverage,
Yes, sir.
which I think is like the best around, if I'm not mistaken, from last year. So we have to be financially responsible to the taxpayers, but we're also trying to do our best to provide, which is, I mean, healthcare is one of the most talked about discussions in America today. So I guess, I know we're probably not done just yet, but I would just say whatever we can do to be financially responsible, yet, you know, we have to be competitive and see what we can get. Let's continue to push for that. If we have to change things up, I'm open to, like, my job gives us the HSA where we get $1,200.
Yes, sir.
So you get a card with $1,200 on it, and if you go see your local doctor, instead of that $20 copay, it's now like $160 every time I go, or one of my kids goes, but you have that $1,200, and then once that runs out, it's on you until you reach your deductible.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I really believe, and I know a lot of you probably work in the private sector or for other entities that are already doing the high deductible health plan. So I know I'm talking to an audience that understands conceptually what we're trying to do there. And I think if I went in just based on the how good the plans are right now with the City of Orange and how well y'all take care of your employees, that we probably would introduce some sort of HSA contribution.
Okay.
Most of my city clients are doing in the 500 to 750 range on employee only. So you've got that $3,000 deductible, as the mayor's talking about, but the city may offset that through a health savings account to help compensate you on the first $500 of cost. And you as the employee can be a consumer. You can say, I'm going to go in and I'm going to spend that $160, and if you truly don't have it, you can reimburse yourself out of the HSA account. But there may be a situation where you say, you know what, I'm just going to pay this out of pocket, write it off on my check register, and I'm going to leave that $500 sitting in, or in your case, $1,200 sitting in that account, growing tax-free, and I'm going to save it for a rainy day when I meet my
I want to make
deductible.
sure that all our citizens understand that the council, he's not talking about insurance from the city, that's his own personal insurance.
Right, that's just
What I
mine.
spoke about is my own personal insurance.
Yes, sir.
That we're not, pulling down the insurance.
No.
As city council people, just in case, whenever we talk about our insurance, we're talking about our insurance and not the city's.
Yes, sir.
Right.
I understood that.
Mr. Penley?
Yes, sir.
Is there any incentive to these Aetna, Humane, Blue Cross Blue Shield by the number of employees? Do they
Yeah.
look for cities with more employees versus us, or how does that work?
So it's a membership game for all of these carriers. So these guys are all competing with each other every day of the week. And they're also competing to be able to walk into the local hospital here and negotiate a better discount on behalf of all their membership. So it's a membership game for one. So yes, the city of Orange, especially in this area of the state, is a prized possession for any one of those carriers. But what I would tell you, that combined with what they're seeing on the loss ratio side, as far as profitability, combined with the amount, the fact that we do RFP every year, makes us less likely to get competitive bids. So, and I'll tell you, on the life and disability and even dental insurance, sometimes we'll send out a quote, an RFP, and we'll say, we're running horrible, there's no way, but we've got 15 markets to go to on life insurance, and somebody might come in with this crazy rate that saves a client, $15,000, $20,000. It's just not really happening on the medical side right now. They're very conservative. They can look at our historical claims data and know that, if I come in with a 6% renewal on this deal, I'm not gonna make any money, and I'm only gonna, I could only keep it for a year or two. So I hope that answers your question, Councilman.
Yes. All right.
Do they only give you a one-year bid? Has any of them ever been known to give you more than a one-year bid?
Councilwoman, that's a great question. I can get 3, 4, 5-year rate guarantees all day long on life insurance and disability. Medical insurance is a 1-year deal. Now, what I can do, and we'll certainly try at this renewal, I've only been able to negotiate it a couple of times, but we'll get a 2nd-year rate cap, meaning they're not going to give us a 2-year deal, but they'll agree not to cap it above a certain amount. So for the city of Greenville and east of Dallas, very similar looking client to you, we did negotiate a 2nd-year rate cap at 15%.
So you
It's a
went
great
out and
question.
just got the one price, and then you still go back if it was just so,
Yeah, so I was,
outrageous, or do they have a certain window that they can be? That you're thinking that by just dealing with Blue Cross, that we'll end up with a better rate?
so I think you're asking me, okay, they came down in 1 year and it looked great, and then they've got that 15% rate cap for 2nd year, but is that 15% still negotiable? Is that what you're asking me?
No, sir, I'm
Okay.
asking if we add, just, what you're asking is if we just deal with Blue Cross, we have a chance of maybe coming out better, correct? Is that-
Yeah, I just don't think, I just think the RFP process in general is going to it's going to be a big distraction for my team and for Cheryl's team, for the city manager. And I don't think it's going to heed the results that it has in the past. So, I'm just going off what the councilman said earlier. I'm going off a gut instinct right now. I'm certainly, y'all are the boss. Y'all tell us what to do. But I truly believe it's going to, probably, we're talking, 30, 40 man hours on my team that could be spent focusing on strategy and negotiating specifically with Blue Cross.
Are you negotiating with the same people, or is it a different group?
It's a great question. Y'all are asking great questions tonight. So at initial, if I was to send this out to bid, we'd be dealing with salespeople. We'd be dealing with their front-end sales folks. That they want to write everything because it means commission for them. But on the back end, we're dealing with account management staff, underwriting. Well, underwriters are on both sides, but we're dealing with account management staff. I get results on both sides, but I am dealing on new business versus renewal business. I'm dealing with separate people. Ultimately, they report up to the same people, but my results are very similar.
Mayor, we'll come back whenever we get the quote and have another discussion. But I just wanted y'all to be prepared for what the future may hold.
Thank you
Yes,
so
sir.
much, sir. We appreciate
Thank y'all very
you.
much for
Thank
having me.
you. This is a very special topic. Like I said,
Yes,
it's-
sir.
besides the immigration stuff and the kids, this is the health insurance is always a major talking point, so thank you.
Thank you very
So-
much.
So that you dealt with, one question, you dealt with a salesperson that is for Blue Cross, so you don't actually deal directly with Blue Cross?
No. We deal directly with Blue Cross.
Okay.
These are all, in this
It's their
example I was telling you, we deal with Blue Cross employees, so.
To further your discussion, and then we'll move on, we always get people calling locally, why don't I get the bid on it? Because the RFP stipulates you cannot make a commission. We're big enough, buying power, or we have enough customers that we go straight to the insurance company and we bypass commissions. Saves you money.
Yes, sir.
Go do a
Thank you,
good job.
thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There's
Okay.
no action to be taken on that, Mayor, that was just a presentation.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.
On to item 7, ordinances. Item 7A, first reading. Consider an ordinance amending the official future land use map designating lots 7, 8, and 9 of Block A of the LT Grubbs subdivision, also known as 1402, 1404, and 1406 10th Street, as commercial, directing the city manager to amend the future land use map, making certain findings relative thereto, providing a severability clause, repealing all ordinances in conflict with this ordinance, and establishing an effective date. Mr. Knopf.
Yes, sir. Whenever we rezone property from one zoning category to another, if it's not consistent with what the future land use map shows, then we amend the future land use map to keep it updated. And the future land use map is part of the comprehensive master plan. And so this is an administrative procedure just so that someday when we adopt a new comprehensive plan, we don't have to go back and research every single zoning change to decide whether to update the future land use map at that point. So the Planning and Zoning Commission recommends that you adopt the ordinance.
I so move.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. And just to let it be known, this is the same discussion we've approved several times before. This is just making it official on the map.
Yes,
For
sir.
those who don't understand. Okay, thank you. Item 8, resolutions. First reading, consider a resolution approving the ground lease agreement of 25 years at $100 each year, memorandum of lease, consent, and agreement to modification of restrictive covenants, and the City of Orange Economic Development Corporation Infrastructure Grant Agreement not to exceed $200,000 concerning the new Boardwalk Grill project at 5th Street and Division Avenue in downtown Orange. Mr. J. Trahan.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor. First of all, I want to acknowledge that we do have Mr. Jake Lemoyne with us here this evening, who also sat in on the EDC board meeting prior to this meeting. But in essence, you have read the legal instruments that moves this project forward. And just to kind of recap it very briefly, we're looking at $850,000 capital investment, 15 full-time jobs, up to 25 to 30 part-time jobs, and basically an estimate of $2.5 million in annual sales as part of his business plan. You mentioned the $200,000 EDC incentive grant. It's targeted infrastructure that does meet the eligibility requirements to be considered. We've worked through the 60-day waiting period. So basically, we're at the point in the process where we're moving forward with the agreements. Just as I mentioned at the EDC board meeting, I do want to acknowledge Mr. Tad McKee and the Stark Foundation because there was an integral part played in terms of support of this project because of a restriction in terms of the sight line, and especially with the vertical improvements that we had to work through, which they were very supportive of, and we'll definitely make that work. I do want to point out and clarify that it is a 25-year ground lease agreement. However, at the 10-year timeline, the owner, Mr. Jake Lemoyne, does have an opportunity to consider a purchase offer to present to the city as well as in partnership with the Stark Foundation based on a market appraisal at that point in time. So the initial period is 10 years, up to 25 years in terms of the ground lease agreement, with that option to take a look at it 10 years from now as well. So I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have. Mr. Lemoyne is here as well. He's available to answer any questions that you have. This is a follow-up to the EDC meeting. Thank you.
Okay, are there any questions for Mr. Lemoyne or Mr. Trahan?
Jay, who is responsible for taxes on the property?
The owner.
Okay.
Yeah, in
So
terms
now
of
the land use.
in terms of the building itself. Now, it's a ground lease at $100 a year in terms of what the agreement is, and it's part of the economic development incentive. But he will be responsible for the actual vertical structure. There isn't any type of tax abatement that's being considered as part of this incentive. We own the land tract. The City of Orange EDC continues to own it.
And then he's got a chance to buy it after 10 years.
After 10 years. Yeah.
Then he'll pay tax on the property.
At that,
also, correct?
at that time.
Let us discuss something.
Okay.
Let me get some direction on that question. That might be something we have to research, Council.
I thought,
Do you want to direct, you want staff to research that?
yes, I do.
let us get back to you on it.
Thank you, sir.
I guess I will. So this is a resolution, so I may need a motion or a second, right?
Well,
We just
let me tell you,
table it, or?
Good.
Mayor, say what you said again, I couldn't pick up on it.
Well, but this says consider a resolution approving, so I'm gonna need a motion to close this out. We're not.
Well, if you want to table it until we get you an answer to your question, if you want to approve it with an amendment contingent upon that, you know,
That's what I think we should
it's
do.
what the blessing of the
Yeah.
council
I'm
is.
good
so.
with that.
Yeah, I think, we should make a motion to approve it with the,
Contingency.
yeah, contingency on the,
Is that a motion, Bill?
taxes, yes.
I'll second.
We're not trying to spoil the deal. We're just
Right.
trying to get
No.
an answer to the council.
That way we
As
can
was
get it passed,
requested.
and then y'all can visit with Mr. Lemoyne on it.
Okay, thank you.
So a motion to approve with consent, with contingency upon the question that was asked. I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Trahan. Thank you, Mr. Lemoyne. Item 8B, consider a resolution of the City of Orange, Texas approving a preliminary plat for the Cypress Shadows Estates Phase 2 subdivision. Mr. Knopf.
Yes, sir. Before you is a preliminary plat filed by Sam Pivot for a subdivision go in adjacent to the city limits up in the Chase Ridge area. And on June 5th, there was a joint public hearing between the City Council and the Planning and Zoning Commission on this preliminary plat, at which comments from the public were taken. And then after the joint public hearing, the Planning and Zoning Commission voted to recommend that you approve the preliminary plat. Now, part of the recommendation is to include variances. And the variances to the ordinance include variances for the fire hydrant requirement, variances for the streetlight requirement, variance for the sidewalk requirement, to allow open ditches instead of storm sewer, and then allow blots of more than 1,200 linear feet, and then also a variance to the requirement to have water and sewer lines. Mr. Pivoto is planning on having water wells and on-site septic disposal systems on his subdivision.
Are they individual?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
At your desk is a revised resolution. I had left off the variance for sidewalks in the one that was sent out in your packet, so it's the resolution that is at your desk that we're asking you to approve.
Do I have a motion and a second, or does council need time to reflect?
If they recommend
Okay, do I have a motion or a second? Okay, I have a motion. No second?
it. I'll second.
Yes.
Okay. I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Yeah.
This resolution passes. Item 8C, consider a resolution awarding a contract to Alco LLC in the amount of $195,621.60 for the wastewater treatment plant rehabilitation Phase 3.
Yes, Mayor, Council, thank you. We opened bids on June the 5th on our last major bid on our $10 million program. This was a bid that covered the rehabilitation of one of our trickling filter units at the wastewater treatment plant. We opened bids from 3 local contractors. They range from $196,000 up to $231,000. We recommend that the low bid to Alco of Beaumont, Texas be awarded, and we prepared the resolution in accordance to that.
I'll make a motion to approve it. You know those guys know what to do.
Yes, sir.
Second.
You've dealt with them plenty.
Okay, I have a
I'll
motion
second.
and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Resolution passes.
Thank you.
Item 9, discussion and action. Discussion and possible action regarding necessary business resulting from Hurricane Harvey. Dr. Uri.
No report, Mayor, thank you.
Okay. I know that you may not have a report, but one thing that I wanted to bring up at this time, for council to hear as well as the public, I think that we are about 10 months out from Hurricane Harvey. I want to commend the council as well as all the different groups that have volunteered in the city to help start the process of leading by example. We got out there, we picked up trash, we've done things to say, hey, we will do it to show you that it can be done. But I do think that it is time for us to push code enforcement. It is time for us to get them out there, to contact those businesses and let them know that they are now, as you can say, fully aware that enforcement is on its way. If you are not taking care of your property, you have the possibility of being fined. And if your property, not only for business owners, but citizens as well, we have to clean this city up, and 10 months later has been enough time, in my opinion. So if we could push that out, I'd like to see that go forward.
I agree, Mayor.
I agree.
Mayor, just for clarification, and we're gonna do whatever the will of the council is. You said business, you want us to focus on commercial
16th
areas?
Street, yes, sir. Commercial areas, starting with 16th Street. That's the entrance to our city, and this has just gotten out of hand.
Okay,
So we
we
gotta
will,
push.
I'll get with the department head, we'll come up with an action plan, and I'll distribute it to you in an email.
All right, thank you, sir. Reports, city manager report, Dr. Ubry.
No report, sir, thank you.
Okay. City council report, starting on my right.
I agree with the mayor on enforcing action, but I also want to put out there for our citizens that we need your help. And it's your responsibility to keep your yard and your house and whatever respectable to our city. And we too are examples, and we need to show them that our city can be beautiful once again. So please, if you see trash, pick it up. Be a representative of the city, because this is your city too. Thank you.
No report, Mayor.
I just want to thank everyone for coming out and tuning in. And I concur with the mayor and Mayor Pro Tem. We really need to do our part. We can't do it alone. We all need to do our part so that our city can move forward in the positive direction that it needs to go. Okay? So with that being said, y'all have a great night.
Well, we just saw that we're getting a new restaurant, and citizens of Orange
Happy
need
about
to
that.
go see those people and help support them, because
Yes.
that's, you know, we've been having people saying, we need new restaurants, need this and that, and we're getting information of new things that are gonna happen. And so then, you know, we just need to support our local businesses.
Yes.
I'll report.
In closing, I would like to thank a few people, in particular myself and Mayor Pro Tem Patrick Pullen. We actually had a sit-down meeting with Dr. Ubry and Ms. Leanne Brown, and we went over the evacuation procedures, the emergency scenarios in case of a hurricane or something was to hit, so that we can be fully aware of what to do, how we're gonna do it, and we really appreciate Ms. Leanne Brown for her time. I also would like to thank everyone on city staff. Last weekend, it was unfortunate what happened we heard of flooding in Bridge City, Orangefield, Vidor, and Port Arthur. And so I'd like to thank our streets and drainage and all of our city staff that got out there prior to the storm, cleaned up ditches, drains, and made sure that our city streets were as clear as possible. For as much as I know, we had no reports of anyone receiving water in their homes. So thank you to everyone for all of your hard work. Thank you for this initiative of trying to clean our city up. We are responsible. We're not sitting up here trying to be a dictatorship saying, you know, either you're gonna clean up or else, but if everyone's pushing for progress and we're saying we want better for this city, it starts with us doing it ourselves. So God bless you all, and thank you for coming, and I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion?
Motion and a second. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.